today, in our crossover to Germany, we look at what news surveys are saying about the pandemic, the economics, and most importantly, debates on face mask wearing. My colleague Roland Walker has been talking to correspondent with our DW partners, William Glickerft. He first asked him for an update on the German Chancellor's isolation.
Give us an update on the German Chancellor's isolation.
Yes, well, actually, she's coming out of isolation, one could say, because she's making her first trip beyond the German borders since the pandemic began. She'll be speaking in, just about 30 to 45 minutes at the European Parliament in Brussels, basically laying out Germany's agenda for the next 6 months. As you know, on July 1st, Germany assumed the EU Council presidency, so they're going to be having a more say than usual, perhaps, than they otherwise do. On a variety of issues, and she'll be presenting what exactly Germany's priorities are. Of course, first and foremost, coronavirus, both from a public health perspective, but also economically. The European Commission came out recently saying that they expect growth in the European Union to actually be worse than first estimated a few months ago, about 8.5% contraction rather than 7.5%. Due to a slower than expected easing of lockdowns all around the European Union. And of course, there's that huge bailout or stimulus fund that Germany and France are on board with to help the hardest hit states in the European Union. 750 billion euros it could be, tied to the European Union's next 7-year budget. But that's going to be take some hard negotiating to get all 27 European Union states on board. And that, of course, affects the European Union's outward-looking stance, whether it has relations with various African countries or other countries around the world, what kind of money and resources are left over after taking care of the European Union with the coronavirus. That very much remains to be seen. But German voters say that one big thing they want to see Germany take a lead on in the next 6 months is climate change. And that, of course, has impacts far beyond Germany and the European Union to right where you are.
We do know that Germany is one of the foremost countries that decided to ease the restrictions, but over time we've also seen some cutback on those decisions to reduce those relaxations. At the end of the day, we've had some provinces or some sections of Germany also imposing some. Australia, we also do have other countries, New Zealand, and all taking measures. Surveys are important, and we know that a number of them have been undertaken. What are they saying currently? What do they point to?
It's very much a two-step forward, one-step back kind of situation right now in Germany and in many countries all around the European Union, as infection rates generally remain low. But for example, in Sweden, they're higher than ever. Of course, as you know, Sweden was famous or infamous for not taking the kind of lockdown measures that most other countries did, and they're paying the price for that now, both in terms of public health and economically. Germany has outbreaks contained to clusters, but there are other countries around the European Union that the WHO is monitoring very closely, saying that there is community spread. That means unchecked, uncontrolled spread, although the numbers are still very low. So it's a very confusing time right now, because it can be very easy to feel like the pandemic is past us, that we can go back to normal life. But there's still a lot of question about just where the infection rate is and what happens if and when people start traveling over these summer months and then come back to Germany. What are they bringing back with them? What have they maybe brought there? This is something that virologists and epidemiologists are looking at very closely, and why they say that wearing masks is very important, despite some officials at the state level in Germany this week saying maybe we can do away with the mask requirements, which got a lot of pushback at the federal level, saying it is much too soon to be talking about removing masks and going back to full normal life.
We do know Germany is a big country. Indeed, even with Ghana, there's great relationship. Big country in Europe and across the world. But coronavirus is biting hard. And it's seen some of its partners, even Germany itself, raising issues about their economy. Recession is also on the brink. We need the sort of leadership that the European Union needs. What can you say about this? What does it mean?
Well, this is a very trying period for the European Union and a very big test for Angela Merkel. Remember, she's going into her final year as Chancellor. She's very unlikely to run for a record term again after 15 plus years in power. So this is going to be her legacy. What can they get done at the European level in the next 6 months? Like I said, whether it comes to coronavirus, climate change, dealing with China, dealing with African states, the relations all around the world, being a bridge between the United States and other parts of the world as those relations get strained. There's a lot of pressure on Angela Merkel and Germany to take a lot of these issues off the list, so to speak. And a lot of disagreement within the European Union itself about just how much help to give hard-hit states by the coronavirus going forward. There's a lot of money on the table, and there's a lot of negotiation left to do.
Now, before we go, in Ghana, wearing masks is not compulsory, it's a law. In Germany, what's the situation? Are people free around not to wear masks, or what do you say to that?
No, masks are definitely required here in Germany. Of course, it's the states, not the federal level, but the states, there are 16 of them in Germany, that decide what exactly the rules are. They are required in shops and public transit everywhere in Germany. But as I mentioned, some states, looking at their low infection rates, are thinking of maybe doing away with them or turning the requirements into only recommendations. But there was a lot of pushback. Jens Spahn, the health minister here in Germany, said that is absolutely not the right way. And those officials that were flirting with the idea of loosening mask restrictions walked back those comments over the last day or two. There is now unity among all of the health ministers around the German state saying there will not be any decisions on loosening the mask rules anytime soon. So the rules about keeping them on in public spaces when social distance can't be maintained, that is still very much the law of the land, or better said, the laws of the states.
Well, thank you very much, William. And William Gilcroft with DW Partners. And I wish you the best for the rest of the day as well. And that'll be it. Our latest from what the roundup is with our partners, DW and also Germany.